Wow, wow, man. Well, welcome, partner. You can ride on in. You can ride with a pony. You can ride with a horse, a Harley, a crotch rocket. I don't. And speaking of motorcycles and the like, our special guest today is a motorcycle rider for sure, and has been for a long time, and been one of my closest friends forever and ever and ever. And that would be my friend Lamar Davis. And everybody at the Radio Ranch, I think, probably has crossed paths with you somewhere along the way. And of course, I was the first to do it back in 1985. Heck, you were one of the first people that was from this neck of the woods that I met when I moved to town. Lamar, how are you, dude? You doing good?
Good, my friend. Great. It's good to see you again. It's been a while. But now, I tell you what, that was a very one of the best things I ever did was walk into that day with a little briefcase trying to impress you.
I have heard that story. I think probably Kelly's probably heard it more than a couple of times. I've heard it a couple of times. What was going through your mind when you first ran across a young Scott Chase?
A young Scott Chase. I thought, well, the best thing to do is just go in and try to be as business orientated as I could. Have it all a little format laid out, how much we thought it would do, and try to get some free air out of it, get some free trips and everything. Walked in, said hello to him, showed him what I had. The next minute, I know we were riding around having a good time, talking. I think it was your second or third day or week at the,
it was
in Chattanooga. So from that point on, we pretty much been friends ever since. So it was one of those.
We hit it off, man.
Yeah, it was. It was kind
of your hair was as long. It wasn't as gray as it is now. I will say that. But neither was mine.
No. I think we're all a little bit younger
then.
Now? And probably a little bit more handsomer back then too.
So he walks into the radio station and he's got this. He's got his jeans on. I think he had an Outland shirt. I'm not sure exactly which one it had. Probably something like that. May have had a collared shirt. I think it was a special day like today, and you wore a collared shirt. And but you had all your hair all tucked back there, and it was neatly braided, as I remember right now. And
I was trying to look real professional. I don't know where I did it or not.
And he goes, "Hey, hello, how are you? I'm Lamar Davis, and I'm raft down the Ocoee River." I didn't know much about whitewater rafting. In fact, knew nothing about it. I had learned a little bit about the region, but not much. And then you start giving me the lowdown as to what you did up there. And in fact, when did folks start? When did rafting companies begin on the Ocoee River? People have been rafting it down probably since the Native Americans, I'm guessing. But
it actually started in 1977, and that was when the flume fell off the side of the river. Actually, if you don't understand, the flume is basically a wooden box about 14 foot wide, about 12 foot tall, and TVA diverted all the water into this box. And that thing was originally built in the 1930s. And it was really a kind of tongue and groove, kind of like a barrel stave, like a whiskey barrel kind of a situation. Well, it got so old and dilapidated that it fell off the side of the mountain. Well, they wasn't originally going to build it back. But when the water actually got back in the original riverbed, it was some really world-class water, Class 3, Class 4 whitewater out there. So people started buying used Army rafts and starting rafting companies. We actually started in 81, so it was... And from that point on, the Ocoee's actually been a world-class river. And then I think in 83, 84, 6 years after we started, TVA decided they were going to build the flume back, cut the river down. And so it's been a whirlwind. It's been a great thing. But, the Ocoee's still where it's at. It's still a great river. We just went through a 15-year process, of getting water for the next 15 years. It took 6 years to get that worked out with TVA. So hopefully in another 15 years, they'll look and see how much money they're actually making off the river and decide to keep it going versus having to try to figure out how to con them into leaving it out there.
Wow. Yeah. You've always been a well-respected guy. You are but very much a professional and have a very successful company. When I first met Lamar in the radio station, and then we struck a deal to have KZ106 partner with you guys, give away some passes at those, as we've said before, we took busloads of people up there, and 6 at a time would get on these rafts very much like this and go down the Ocoee River. You were living in a camper, a small camper.
Yes, I was.
You
yes,
were.
I was.
That didn't curb the amount of fun that we had by any mean or any stretch of the imagination.
No, I think I had probably more fun back then living in a camper, because it was less stressful. Everything you do, the thing about the river it's kind of like what you guys do. You know, you get up in the morning, you love to go to work. And if you love to go to work, you end up making money at it, or you have a great time at it, and you're not worried about the money. One day you realize that you're making money at it, so it becomes a business. And that's pretty much what happened with the Ocoee, but with me and Outland anyway. But, you know, when we first started working with KZ-106, especially you, Scott, it was one of those situations where it was like probably the best thing that ever happened to Outland, probably the best thing that ever happened to the Ocoee, probably the best thing that happened to the region was all the advertisement that KZ was given, not just Outland Expeditions, but the Ocoee River, period. Because everybody heard Ocoee River rafting on the Ocoee. You know, Outland was prominent, don't get me wrong, but it really helped get the Ocoee, I think, on the map, you know, because more people thought about it, decided they want to do it. They might not have chose Outland to do it, but they did go rafting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great time. It's a great time.
Did the Olympics kick that up when they rolled through?
Well, actually, what happened with the Olympics, when the Olympics come in, the year of the Olympics, it was actually kind of one of the worst years that the Ocoee ever had, because they were actually more, you got to remember the bombing happened and all the other stuff that went down, so they were really shutting the Ocoee down. The whitewater events are really not like a NASCAR event where you have a huge crash and people see all this stuff and parts go flying everywhere, paddles go this way, paddles this way. What happens is the guy's running like a slalom race, and most people have seen on a downhill ski event. Well, in a downhill ski event, if they crash, you know, they usually have a terrible fall. Well, if they do the same thing in a whitewater event, they usually just roll back up and keep on going downstream. So, you know, there was a lot of spectators the first day. The second day, there weren't quite as many spectators. And by the third day, there were actually more people in security than there were spectators. You know, it was one of those things. You know, then we had this bombing at the Centennial Park, and that was one of those weird, you know, kind of, I guess, TV kind of drama things, because I remember going in for that, and what had happened, they were grouping everybody at the local, kind of like a big parking area they had, which is a Ruijton club that had the parking area, so we were meeting there, and I remember pulling in. For the first couple of days, I was always there very early, and a friend of mine had a bus company. He looked at me and he goes, "How many trips did you make to the put-in yesterday?" And I said, "Probably about 15. He goes, "Why did you make 15 trips?" And I said, "Well, you know, that's what we're getting paid to do." And he goes, "Oh, you don't need to do that." He said, don't do that. He says, you know, do the last one there, and so that way you only do 5 trips. You know, you're getting paid the same amount of money. Well, I guess what we had done the first day, they put a big hologram on the front of our bus, because we'd been inspected, the dogs had checked it, you know, and they put cameras underneath the bus to see if there was any bombs or anything. So you know, it was so early in the morning, we hadn't heard anything about the bombing at Centennial Park. And, you know, and I'm thinking to myself, I said, this might be a cool gig. You know, instead of doing 15, I'll do 5. And I'm pulling into the staging area, and I'm looking, I'm like going, holy crap, all these buses are still here. And all the cars were still here for the, you know, for the participants and the guests that wanted to see it. And I'm looking around the window, and all of a sudden there was guys with M15s and AR-16s and everything running up to the bus. And I'm thinking, oh my God, they knew I was trying to cheat them out of some money.
No, really, I was going to do 15, not 5.
Yeah, I was really going to do. I'm a little late. I had to eat some breakfast, you know. So they come over and they asked me. They were like going, you know, and I'm just like, what have I done wrong? I thought, how did they find out about it, you know? And then Robert Malone was the guy that told me. I said, did Robert rat me out? But, you know, but anyway, to make a long story short, they pulled us all the way back through. Once we realized what was going on, they told us what was up. You know, I could breathe, you know, without having an elephant sitting on my chest. But there for a few minutes, I thought, this is not going to look good on my resume.
So when you first started, you probably had one bus. How were you getting people back and forth to where you were?
Well, what we were doing, we were leasing some property and everything, and it was kind of like a fly-by-night operation. You know, it was kind of everybody that, you know, come and work for us were usually friends. You know, we had like 6 guides that first year. We bought 6 used rafts from another rafting company, and then ended up buying a used bus from a school system called Gordon County. And then at that particular point in time, that school bus was probably one of the best buses on the river, though, to look back on it, because it never broke down, and all the other companies' buses broke down, which was kind of funny, you know. But there's a little story about the way we bought we bought those used rafts, and the company we bought those used rafts from, they were kind of bigger company than we were, and so they thought they'd really broke it off in us and everything, because we gave them a pretty good chunk of money. Knowing what we know now, we gave a pretty good chunk. But anyway, to make a long story short, and they, for some reason, they wanted this money in cash. So we gave them all the money in cash, so they took and hid this money. And I'm not going to say who it was or anything like that, but at that particular point in time, they had a beer store and some other stuff. So they had their money and they were hiding it. And they were, they had partners. And I guess they didn't want one partner to know what the other partner was doing or whatever. And I'd actually at the time bought beer from them. And I guess they took and hid this money, which was $10,000 in a case of beer in the refrigeration unit. And I guess what had ended up happening, a customer come in that day was wanting to buy a case of beer. Well, they didn't have a case of beer sitting there to give them. So they walked into the refrigeration unit and handed them that case of beer with that $10,000 in it, and it walked out the door.
I had no idea you drank beer. You drink beer, Lamar?
Yeah, really? Not as much as I used to. I think we all drank a little bit more back then. But I always thought that was a good story. Yeah.
What a great story. Let's bring Kelly McCoy in. You drank a couple of beers with us in the past. Let's talk about a few concerts we used to attend at the Roundhouse.
Oh, Lord.
Those were just epic, too. I mean, epic time.
We have had some fun over the years, for sure. I just want to be the person one time in my life that walks out with $10,000 in a case of beer.
Hey,
Really, where am I then?
Right?
Yeah, that's what I said, too, because I was like going, I normally wouldn't have got a case of beer, but it was just so funny because they were, the way that it was all coming about, it was just got to the point that they were, everybody thought it was just a joke that we had to buy those rafts, and they broke it off in us, and we were not the smartest tools in the shed and everything, and that ends up happening. So you're thinking, well,
karma.
Be careful karma gets you. It will bite you. Yeah. I always thought that too. Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
So some of the concerts, Lamar, what are some of your highlights?
From when we went to the concert?
Yeah.
I think they were all great. I mean, it was one of those situations. Once we got to know you guys, I got spoilt really bad, because y'all guys were in the know with everybody that had a guitar in his hand or a drum kit or a record label or a contract or whatever you want to say. So what we were used to buy. I was personally used to buying tickets and getting in the nosebleed section, and going, hey, man, they look really good down there. Once we got to know y'all guys, y'all were going, hey, man, we got a couple extra tickets. You want to go backstage and meet Leonard Skinner or Blackfoot or Whitesnake or, and it was like, it was a whole different view from backstage. It was like a lot more fun seems to happen back there, even though it's very professional.
Yeah.
Yeah. They bumped Lamar out. I'm back out from backstage a time or two, I think. I remember for different stuff. I guess we were being just too churchly or too nice, probably, or something like that.
I think that was probably it. We always had the tendency to be the the really good boys of the crowd.
Yeah. Not really.
Did you guys have the run of the town basically at that point in time? Obviously, I know how it is now. I mean, we go to concerts. We have kind of free movement around a building. But back then, I mean, radio was so much different. The artists were cutting edge and on the radio more. They were labels were working more in depthly. Did you guys have like the run of the stadium at that point in time? You're just walking in every door, just like cracking open a door, and there's Joe Perry back there. Hey, how you doing?
Well, it was geographically, though, there was more concerts here then. There's, unfortunately, as we've talked about before, we used to have all the shows, man. They opened, and even before UTC Arena, but certainly when the Roundhouse opened, they were all in here all the time. So yes, in that regard, we did have the run of the place because we had the run of the place. They were our acts that were playing. And we got to go there. And unfortunately, now we have some concerts, but not the number of, and certainly not the magnitude as it once was either. I mean, we did get to go wherever and did go wherever.
I'm just going to say this: it was the '80s. It was the '80s, so it was all over the top, pretty much. I mean, I was just always amazed, that somehow or another that the band was able to play.
So, tell us some stories about rafting and the like. How many companies are there now as opposed to where they were in the early days? Many have come and gone, I guess, over the years, haven't they?
Well, a lot of them has been sold by other people and purchased and everything. And we just had a company that was bought this year. That was one of the original companies. But when we first started Outland and everything, we were number 7. There were 7 people there, so there was no guarantee that you were going to have a contract, and there was no guarantee that the Ocoee was going to run. But right now, it's like everything else in the world. It's become a mainstay, I think, of an outdoor adventure, and I think it helped get Chattanooga voted as one of the adventure cities of, one of the top venture cities in the United States. But it's changed quite a bit. If you'll remember correctly, when we first started, we were using non-bailing boats, and we'd have to have a 5-gallon bucket that we carried down the river with us.
Yes.
And we'd stop and bail this boat out. And then you would always try to con a guest into doing it for you. This is fun. It's like Huckleberry and the Hunting of the Fence. You would like going, here, use this bucket and bail the water out. This is very important, because after about 2 hours of doing that, your arm kind of got really sore. Everything has changed. It's got better, I think. It's like everything in the world. Technology has made the equipment better. It's made it more safer for our guests. We've all got more conscious about people and their safety versus when we were doing it before. You might have a good year was probably 400 and 500 people. Now a good year is 15,000 people going rafting.
Wow.
So it's a big difference. There's a lot of other things that's happened with the Ocoee too, because the Ocoee, back when we first started doing it and when y'all first started advertising it and everything, was the simple fact that it was probably the only game in town. Now you got a river up in the Pigeon River. It's a class 2, class 3. It's within 60 miles of the Ocoee. You've got the Columbus River that's rafting. You've got over in Charlotte, North Carolina, you've got the Whitewater Center, which everything is there. So there's a lot more diversity for people to do. You've got the Hiwassee, which is always there, but none is really comparable to the Ocoee, I don't think. But it has changed quite a bit over the years, and I think the Ocoee, the numbers have used to be really a lot higher because there wasn't so much other things for everybody to do. Like we were earlier talking about concerts for years and years and years. Chattanooga was a big concert area. I mean, you have, and KZ had a huge reach, and if you wanted to listen to good rock and roll, you had 2 choices. You had 96 Rock and KZ 106, and those were the brands, Other than that, there was nothing else worth listening to. And that's like the Ocoee. When it first started, there was nothing else worth doing but the Ocoee. But everybody that got out of the car was more adventure looking, let's put it that way. It was kind of like you could smell your own kind because they got out of the car looking like you. Now it's totally different. There's more families, there's more youth groups, there's more church groups, and that's because the Ocoee is no longer one of those situations where it's for the reckless and the few. Now it's more commercial orientated, it's more safety orientated. We're licensed by the United States, we're licensed by the state of Tennessee. There's safety checks. It's a different thing. It's like everything. I think you get sooner or later it becomes real professional. If you're going to be in this business for a long period of time and for the long haul, you change to that mode.
Yeah, and you become a businessman. And how about that transition?
Yeah.
How about you and I, man? We both become like quasi businessmen.
Well,
that's kind of pretty
interesting. I was actually thinking about that. I was thinking, I remember when you started there, you were just a DJ on the radio, and I was basically, I think I had to borrow that briefcase to try to impress you with. So things have changed. We were both single at that particular point in time.
Yep.
Now we've got grown kids. I'm actually a grandfather now. You're a grandfather. None of that was happening back when we were first met. You know what I'm saying? We were still kind of footloose and fancy free. So it was a lot more fun. But and the way everything comes out, it's like you said, we've been friends and brothers for going on almost 30 years now. Long time.
Actually, probably longer than 30 years, I bet you. Well, since 19.
Well, I still think it's 20. I always think it's.
There's a couple of years we weren't that close, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, and neither one of you have a briefcase either. Can I just throw that in there?
No, not any longer. And now we all have go-karts. That's the funny part about it, Yeah. Back then, we were like mooching beer off of, we used to go to Yesterdays, and I remember those days, and we'd go in there, and somebody would buy you a beer that know you, or you'd buy somebody else a beer, Of course, Scott, if you hung around with Scott, you were going to get free beer anyway.
This is true.
Well,
Yeah.
we had some fun yesterday, man. Yesterday, and David's, man. We've talked about it before.
Oh,
David's
yeah.
close to the
Yeah.
arena, man. We'd have a blast there because it was like right there, close, adjacent. Great food. They had
Right.
they had tequila, and we drank their tequila. We
Oh,
enjoyed their
lots of
tequila.
tequila. Well, I miss Denny. But Denny was always there at the
Yeah.
front door yesterday's, and he was such a good guy. He'd see you coming, and there'd be a line standing, and you would get the velvet rope of treatment. He would just push everybody out of the way. He goes, "Y'all guys, come on in." I don't know where it was because he knew we was going to spend money, or we're going to make big fools out of ourselves. I don't know, or be part of the show, but he'd always let us in before anybody else. It seemed like.
Yep. Denny, great guy. All the Hannons, men, are just absolutely wonderful people. They really are.
Yeah.
So, man, that's an extraordinarily huge growth of the people who went down the river then and go down the river now. How were things this year for you with the COVID, with the virus? Were people wanting to get out and about and do some things? And a lot of people probably came as a group of 6 and enjoyed going down the river to be able to get out and about because they were tired of being in their house, I bet, weren't they?
Well, the sad part about I'm sure you're all like everybody else. We all sat there and dealt with a COVID situation where you go to the store, or you go to the mall, or you go to Walmart. It's just one of those situations. Us personally, we didn't think we were going to even have a season. We were told that we couldn't. First of all, they wanted you to social distance on a bus, and that's hard to do, and try to get people down the river. Our business is based on numbers of people going down the river. The second thing was you can't social distance in a 6-foot raft, 6 foot wide, 6 feet. So that was another thing. And then, like I said, it got late May, and then the TDEC, which is our licensing agency, and the state worked out a situation where they felt like that since it was going to be outside, and they felt like the virus was dying at 70 degrees, that it would probably be safe for us to do it. So we were really amazed that even get the season off the ground. So we actually started at, I think, May the 27th. And from that day forward, we had our fingers crossed every day that we were out on the water, thinking, well, maybe the next day they'll pull the plug and we won't have anything to do. And a rafting business is one of those situations where your money comes in 5 months. But, the rest of the year, there's still bills going out. And once you crank up that season, you've got all the expenses. The insurance company doesn't go, well, we're going to give you money half back because you only run 13 days.
Right.
They keep it for a full year. So it was one of those things. So we were really just fortunate and blessed to be able to do what we got to do this year. And each day I was thinking, well, there's going to be an outbreak to this. There's going to be something here. There's going to be and raft guides are notoriously, they're young, they are healthy, they go hang out on the beach, they go to, the beach parties, they hang at river parties and everything. You figured sooner or later, some guide would, get it contracted and have come back as positive for COVID-19. Then that would get out and get in the news, and then the next thing you know, the Ocoee would be shut down. Once we got through the 4th of July, I was really amazed to get through the 4th without something like that. Then we got through Memorial Day and Labor Day, and I was like going, wow, this is, I was just amazed. And then I think it was about when Biden started to stay in his basement. They started to have another resurgence of COVID-19. And then we started getting these people going, well, what are y'all doing for COVID-19? Well, we were wearing masks on the bus. We disinfect the bus. We were disinfecting the bus with an agent that was CDC actually used to kill HIV virus. So we were doing that after every trip, the whole 9 yards. And then we were asking them to wear a mask, but you could tell all of a sudden the media started doing a different way, and it started becoming a concern for people. So we basically just told them, said, hey, we can't do anything about, if you're worried about catching COVID, you probably don't want to come rafting at all. But the simple fact is, you can't social distance on a bus, and you can't social distance on a raft. We can social distance our outposts. We moved all the picnic tables so they were 12 foot apart. We put little squares of yellow on the deck so they couldn't get, we made them all sign in before they got in the office. But it was just one of those situations. It's been a really, really strange year, but a blessed year at the same time, because people are just amazed that if you're a rafting business, to be able to do this season and be able to put a little bit of profit in the bank is so much better than sitting at home, watching people go to Walmart.
So you
this is
guys,
one of those-
all your family's been healthy, and everybody, all the people that you know of there have been healthy so far. That's wonderful, buddy. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, I've met. I don't know about you, but you guys get out a lot. I'm not. I know there's a virus, but I've only had 2 people that I know personally that said they got it. One of them was Kevin Brooks, the mayor of Cleveland, and the other one was Randy Mill. Well, I ain't gonna say that Randy or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But they all tested positive, but they all do construction work as a general rule, and they thought they just had the flu. When they got sick.
And they got better.
Yeah, and they've all got better. But if you back. Dodger right there is probably a prime example of a guy that could get it and never think he had it, or anything, Me and you and Kelly, on the other hand, Kelly's probably a lot younger, but me and you on the other hand would probably get it and realize we had something,
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's the big thing. I mean, I think if you're healthy, from what I've understood, and of course we get daily briefings, from the state of Tennessee, we get daily briefings from our insurance companies. And what we've heard and what we've seen so far, that if you're in great health, and most people that are going rafting are in pretty decent health,
right,
then you're probably not going to contact it.
Yeah.
I mean, but there's a lot of people that got it, and a lot of people have passed away from it. So it's a sad.
I've been down the river with you a bunch of times, man. It's always a blast too. It is. I've fallen out of the raft a number of times. That'll get you. That'll get
you were pushed out.
Which is what I was about to go to on a little happier note, because I know exactly where Scott Chase grew up because I lived there for a little while. There are not rivers like the Ocoee where Scott Chase came from, where I spent some time. So the first time you took Scott down a river, can you remember what the reaction was like? And did he make it all the way down dry-ish?
Well, yeah, he did the first time, simply because, we were still wanting to get some. We wanted to make sure we got some good PR out of him. So, but, I look back on that, we should have probably made him swim every little rapid that was out there. But, he actually had fun. And back then, we were all a lot younger. Everybody that was going rafting with us was a lot younger back then, it seemed like. Like I said, it was a different breed of cat. The people that won the rafting trips off the radio were younger people, a younger crowd, younger demographics, I think, than it is now. But the first trip we had, we were just, to be honest with you, I was more concerned about, my guides doing something stupid or tripping people or flipping people out of the boat or, making people think they were going to die. You were thinking, we do not want bad PR on this first trip. We want them to come back and do this again. So that was, but after that trip, that was kind of like, I think that sealed our friendship, because we went rafting together, and then we started hanging out together, and it was just one of those kind of male bonding situations that goes on, when you're younger.
You hear people say this. There are just a handful of people that I know that I could call anytime, day or night, and I believe they would be there for me. And you're one of those, man. You're probably at the top of the list. You're a good friend, man. I just love you, bro. You just you're solid as they come, man, and honest, and do the right thing. And there's a reason that you've grown from where you were to where you are now, because you're just good people. And why I've watched you raise your family, and now your kids are both in the business. Dakota and Dylan both helping you with the business right now. And that's got to make you really proud.
It does. You got to understand that, most people, they get to a certain stage of their life, and you look at it and you go, I really don't want to do this any longer. I enjoy doing what I'm doing, and it's great to do this, but I've done this for going on 40 years now. I'd kind of like to be able to get a break and say, hey, let's go cook out someplace. Let's go hang out for a summer. Let's go do this. I know we take fall vacations and everything, but it'd be nice to have a summer off where you can just go hang out at the bar and drink a beer and not worry about somebody calling you and go, hey, we had a bus breakdown, or John didn't show up for work, or, Kevin flipped somebody and they want to sue us. I just want to let the kids start taking it over. And the good thing about it, I think, now is let them do it while you're alive, because, if you're dead and gone, they're going to pick fights about who gets what and everything. Now you can look at them and go, nobody's going to get anything if you don't straighten it up. That's the way you got to do it. And they're good kids. They really are good kids. I think it's like, Mason and Tanner are great kids too. You know what I'm saying? Dakota and Dylan, they're good kids. They're like brothers and sisters. They're always going to have a little disagreements, but when it comes down to it, they were raised by good people. So
Yep.
I'm really proud of both of them. Yeah.
Well, I'm proud of them too. Kelly, you've known this guy a long time. You've been up there with us. We used to go up there and do some cookouts. We're due to have another big cookout. So in 2021, which I expect to be a gangbuster year, because we're due a big gangbuster year. We ought to go up there and just have a couple of big throwdowns, man. Because we throw down, we bring the hop gear and play music up there, and I've cooked some barbecue. We'll bring the sauce up there and have some barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
And hang with you guys. When we did that, we entertained not only the people we brought up there, but it seemed like everybody from all the other rafting companies would come and hang out with us too. And we're due to do 2021 is going to be our year once again. Okay.
That sounds good. And everybody did from all of the rafting companies come crash our party. That's true.
They are.
We always had a good time, though. We got the trip out early in the morning, come back and had the rest of the afternoon to do what we wanted to do. Then it got to the point that people, were being people, and so you had to say, well, we can't do this any longer. We can't do that. So, but I think irresponsible people make it that way for everybody. So that's just the sad part about it. And of course, insurance goes up. When you get money, people got something to sue you for.
They do. Hey, Dodger, have you been down the Ocoee? I'm sure you have.
I have. It's been a little while. But yeah, definitely have. I actually, my 11-year-old is now asked. She's starting to get interested for some reason. I don't know where she saw it, but what triggered her. But she's like, let's go rafting. I'm like, all right, well.
Right.
Well,
we still got a little bit of season left.
When do you start? When do you start training your guides? What time of the year?
Normally we start in March. Like the second weekend in March. Let's
think about that for a second. They start training their guides in March in the water, right? In other words,
yes.
They got to get.
But you want to make them swim a little bit too, because you want people to understand it's a job, and it's just not a social event, because a lot of raft guys end up treating the Ocoee as a social status kind of a thing. I'm a raft guy, like I play lead guitar, or I do this, or I do that. But it really is serious, because you've got people's lives in your hand, and people do die on the Ocoee, unfortunately. So March is when we start. We end up in the end of October. I think this year I'm still, photographer, a lot of photos for a lot of rafting companies, that most people are going to shut down the first week in October.
Gotcha.
I've looked at our schedule and everything. We're going to be running all the way to the end of October, because now there's a lot of fraternities. There's a lot of fraternities that are back in college, and they're wanting to get out and do stuff.
So people will be wearing masks maybe on the last trip or two, because it'll be Halloween, actually.
Oh yeah.
Well, Kelly,
we might be building them bonfires to stay warm too. So this kind of season, it was just really strange. It was like last week we're all wearing short pants and flip flops. Now we all got long sleeve shirts on and sweaters. It's just overnight it got so cold. It was just amazing.
It did. Man, thanks for spending time, man. If you're going to talk about the Radio Ranch, Lamar, your name's got to come up, and not just with KZ. I mean, back with all WGOW, all the stations, we've all participated. We've all had fun. And Kelly's helped keep us in line over the years. We appreciate that too. Kelly, thank you. Thank you.
Talk about a thankless job.
Yeah,
I know it's not been easy.
Limo drivers. Yeah, you and a lot of limo drivers probably saved us from a lot of DUIs.
Tip them well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Lamar Davis, Outland Expeditions, and also your wife, who runs Outland Travel, Donna, wonderful person. She's had a very successful business as well. Please give our regards to her as well. Okay, buddy?
Yeah.
I sure will.
All right. Kelly, appreciate it. Dodger, Lamar. That's our Radio Ranch cast today, man. We do them once a week, release them 9 o'clock right here on Tuesday morning on social, on the website. And thanks for your support. All of our radio stations on Pineville Road. That's what this is all about. Just life in and around 821 Pineville Road, the Radio Ranch cast. Y'all have a great day.